What's a sign someone has no life? Okay, so this is relative. For men, no ambition for anything in life that could make money or is a large project. For women, princess mode for life. My sister is going through this, and my dad is having a hard time pushing her to use double major chem bio degrees. I'm kind of going through this too, but I've tried a lot of things and love taking controlled risks. Drinking and or substance use. I'm glad that the next gen, centennials and older alphas, are not drinking, partying, etc. as much. Though being too safe is an issue too. I also have a lot saved during lockdown and know how to code in Swift, but I want to say one more thing about this. People who are stuck and trying to make something of their lives need to carefully be discerned from those who are silver-spooned and closer to Billy Madison, so to speak, with relevance to this thread, and how they attempt ambitious goals. Why, and even with whom? The reason I'm updating this is because and this isn't an attempt to shine on myself online, lol, currently in the process of trying to leave my area, state, city, etc., while writing legit TV scripts, learning to code mobile apps, and working at a local university as a higher-up dean's assistant. I don't know which I like, but those all have hours a day around work dedicated to them, and I fully acknowledge that I need to choose one to fully commit to in my life. I've said as much in various ways on other threads, so I just want to give some context and perspective to those who are struggling and have ADHD, but are working hard towards their goals, dreams, and are kind of wobbly, lol. Hey, at least we're all trying. Remember, it's okay to fail as long as we learn from it and keep moving and pushing forward. Or just binge watch Netflix, whatever works for you. Story 2. As an autistic person who only recently got diagnosed, I can tell you from experience that things I did when I was younger and incredibly lonely, depressed, and isolated with no social skills. A. Make up stories about things I did on the weekend so people didn't think I was a loser. It went so far as to construct an entire life story of a fictional version of me, including fake friends too. B. Getting dressed up and going into work on days off, or after I'd finished to shop there so I could both speak to people and act like I was about to do something social. C. Taking a book into a bar and sitting by myself while acting like I had no interest in anyone or anything, feelings of extreme loneliness. D. Going to the cinema on my own. E. Trying to laugh at people's jokes who happen to be within earshot, hoping they'd somehow invite me to join them like some weirdo. F. Seeking to insert myself into my cousin's social life. G. Taking public transport the entire length of the line and then back again when it returned while listening to music in my headphones. H. Going on very long walks, listening to music from one side of the city to the other. I. Reading the encyclopedia and dictionary for fun, although I suspect that was the autism more, so however, it's because I had time. J. Being brave and speaking to new people who seemed interested in things I was and then making plans to meet up, and then being completely naive during the whole thing because they thought I was trying to pick them up, rather than just be friends and I innocently ignored them and caused them immense confusion. To be honest, maybe the autism too? K. Over-communicating with such new friends' attempts and being super invested in the new relationship attempt to the point of causing negative reactions, which went unnoticed and resulted in being ghosted and ultimately perpetuated the entire self-esteem and inferiority complex cycle. L. Going to the library for fun and reading many self-help books. M. Playing music loud for the neighbors' enjoyment and sitting outside with a drink to make it seem like I was having a party. Seriously. Thank God I'm better now and don't do things like writing long lists online on forums such as Reddit unnecessarily. Story 3. Not me reading all these as a disabled and chronically ill person. I think someone who can't talk about anything other than their job. But like an extreme version of that, I'd say, because with the way the world is right now, things are extremely unaffordable for most. Maybe underlying depression? They call it the silent ender for a reason. Someone who, even though they have the time, retired, etc., and are otherwise healthy and can do whatever they want, but still don't have any hobbies or interested. My MIL is retired. She goes karaokeing every weekend and is a very fun person. When I wasn't as sick, we'd go on coffee dates and more often, but she is very, very energetic. I can't keep up with that anymore. We love each other. I see her as a mom. I keep myself busy with my various hobbies. It's hard in a sense that, yes, I have a lot more flexibility than most people, but at the same time, it's not by choice and I have to be careful of my health constantly. I've been trying to get a small art business off the ground to make some of my own money while my husband supports me. Even before my illnesses had me housebound, I always was doing something even when I worked. I got sick before entering the workforce, sadly, but I did a paid internship and a couple of other gigs. I kept going to an adult art class and we'd have exhibitions. I thought I'd end up being a working artist in the traditional sense, but I've tweaked my goal a bit with opening an online shop. I play video games, watch anime, K drama. I've been trying to teach myself Japanese, trying to connect with friends. Sadly, I moved away from my closest friends, so video calls, etc., is all I get. I run a guild in one of my main games that keeps me social to some degree. I love talking about places I'd love to travel to someday, etc. But my health is sadly my main job. For now, I have at least several issues that require surgery, etc., and then I should be stable again. There are periods where I can't do much other than play Switch in bed because I'm too unwell for anything else. But that gives me joy, even if it's a little bit to distract myself. Oh yeah, there's audiobooks too. Story 4. I went away on an adventure holiday and traveling by myself, had to share a tent with a complete stranger who was older. He seemed boring, but I figured that at his age he must have done lots of remarkable things with his life. Nope. Inquiries revealed that he had served on a ship in World War II that had never come under enemy fire. Then he had gone back to Middle America and sat on a bar stool and talked about baseball scores to whoever had sat next to him for all of his 60 years. He had never had a partner, learned to swim, or even how to cook. He had no discernible life skills and no other hobbies. This was his first overseas holiday, to the Congo of all places, because people had told him he should travel a bit. They probably wanted him to give up his permanent seat at the bar. I was gobsmacked that this person had done as little as possible with his life and viewed him as a cautionary example of how not to live your life. While I felt sympathy for him, he literally was too boring to talk to. Story 5. Some of the people in my town's Facebook group have no lives. The admin and his town buddies are unbearable. They treat this thing like a full-time job because they're constantly on it. Posting inside jokes, hope no one wants pizza for lunch, right, Mark? LOL. Posting useless information and reminders, hey guys, it's Friday, remember to have a good weekend. And commenting on every single post, even though it's usually the least helpful advice. Sorry, not sure if that place takes reservations, but give them a call and find out. There is some good from the group when people make actual recommendations or have legitimate questions, but it's also so sad to me that these people really have nothing better to do than to be active 24/7 in a town Facebook page. They must be on their phone constantly and eagerly drop what they're doing when they get an alert that someone posted something, because their comments come so quickly after people post. I can't imagine people who are busy would be able to do this, or people who are spending time with friends or family. These are people with no lives. Or maybe they're training to be the next generation of internet trolls, or maybe they're just really, really bored. Story 6. Oh man, I know a guy. I'm not saying this to slight him in any way, and the world needs more people like him, because he's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And as a younger retiree who lives alone in a state where I don't know anybody, I get it. So the man has a little old pickup truck full of bungee cords and just kind of hangs around in the parking lot of the post office, waiting for people who look like they might need a bungee cord. I came out carrying a large package one day and was just about to dig a couple ratchet straps out of my backpack to secure said package to the little cargo rack on my motorcycle. I saw this guy's eyes light up when he saw me walking towards my bike with the box. He jumped out and was like, hey, want a bungee cord or two for that? And we got to chatting. He seemed to just genuinely want to meet people and be of service, and had a really upbeat demeanor. He joked, they call me the bungee cord man. He was so stoked to help that I was fine with taking the bungee cords he lightly insisted I keep, because I knew it made him feel good to feel useful. He didn't strike me as mentally imbalanced or anything, just bored and wealthy in cords of bungee. I wave every time I see him out there and smile at the memory. And I've found out he's quite cherished by the postal workers there. Bungee cord man, if you see this, it's folks like you that make this world worth living in. Just please never tell me if you voted for Trump, because that would just crush me. Story 7. People that have to comment negatively to someone posting enjoyment over and over again. Example, someone posting, I love this movie. And it never fails, someone will comment, movie's so bad, the worst thing ever made, etc., etc. Or like in games too, I love this game, and someone will comment that it's bad. Why spend so much time being negative towards something? It's fine if you don't like it, but why do you have to keep on jumping on every time someone else posts they enjoy it? Typical communities that have people like that are focused on the IP. Like I am in an Alien fan group on Facebook, and there are so many toxic people that just every single time someone posts about movie X, they have to post their toxic, obnoxious comments to try to take a piss on the person. So stupid. Story 8. I'm going to describe a cousin of mine. She lives with my grandmother and has over 100,000 in savings from working a part-time dishwashing job and literally buying nothing because all she does is internet and work. They hang out online on Reddit all day, either lurk or only comment. They are a stereotype of whatever group they are a part of. They seem to have no interests or hobbies beyond games that have no challenge. They never leave their comfort zone, go to work, home, video, game, slash internet. If failure at a task has any consequences, they will avoid doing the task. At work, they hang out alone at lunch or sit with a group and say nothing, unless they feel it's a safe, bland statement that they think won't be rejected by the group. Story 9. One of the saddest things to me is bar regulars. I was meeting a friend at a bar and I got there early. There's a guy at the bar that is clearly a regular. The bartender goes, "Oh, I forgot to give you your birthday drink yesterday." He is there every day, including his birthday. Nobody to even go out to dinner with on his birthday. It made me super bummed out. Also, I had a friend in high school and his parents were functioning drinkers. Every day after work, they would go to the same bar and get hammered. If I was over there, they would come home intoxicated, heat something up for dinner for their kids, and go to bed. They weren't mean or anything, but it was just sad. I lost touch with him, but somebody told me his dad had liver failure and wasn't eligible for a liver replacement. Crazy how a lot of people don't know what to do with themselves when they retire. Most of them just end up watching a lot of TV, I feel like. Weird how some people never develop any hobbies or interests. Story 10. My coworker gets to work at like 6 a.m. every single morning and stays until 4 or 5 p.m. Aside from the weekends, on the weekends, he works another job. He gets down on himself a lot, sadly, and seems very insecure. I've tried asking him how his week's been or if he has any plans, and he really does. Not that you need plans to have a life, but it quite literally seems like all he does is work. I work in tech, and he obviously is on the tech team and tinkers with tech in his spare time if he isn't working his other job. He talks to me all the time at work and apologizes for talking my ear off, so I get the impression that he's really lonely deep down. I don't mind him talking so much to me most of the time. It's so painful that he stops himself and apologizes. He's very kind and respectful too. Who hurt this man? Story 11. I feel like this is one of those questions where people judge others on why they believe someone has quote-unquote no life. It's all personal perspective. For example, I've been told I have no life. Me and my partner are hermits. As a general rule, we're misanthropes. We don't like going out to bustling places and partying and whatnot. When we have free time, we like staying in and playing video games. Some people think that is having quote-unquote no life, but we are very happy in our life and what we do. It all comes down to opinion. Our society is all judgmental for no reason. Having no life in a societal context is, in itself, a form of life that doesn't conform to typical expectations. Just like how stillness is an action, choosing not to engage in certain social structures is still a deliberate choice. Meaning can exist in quiet spaces and nonconformity even when it isn't externally validated. Once, a colleague asked me what I had planned for the weekend, and I was all, "Well, there's a book I want to read and some TV shows I'm going to catch up on." And she says, "So you're not doing anything then?" Ask what she's doing, and she says she'll be watching the football, not playing football or physically going to the game, just watching on her TV at home. Baffled that she thought her sitting on the couch watching football was somehow more of a plan than me sitting on the couch watching a TV show. Conversely, I've had times in my life where I was working 50 hours per week in the gym, 8 to 12 hours per week, going out and spending money 3 to 4 nights per week, and I legitimately felt like I had no life. My happiest moments back then were probably playing FIFA with my roommate and talking with my ex on WhatsApp while hiding in this corner spot of my hotel restaurant bar sipping an old-fashioned. Ironically, the times where it looked like I had no life were when I felt most alive. Weird years to reflect on. Story 12. Everyone's definition of quote-unquote no life is vastly different. What one considers life varies. One person considers raking the yard a life while their neighbor considers climbing Mount Everest a life. If someone is doing what they love and doing it well, as long as it doesn't harm them or others, then that may be considered having a life. No one has a right to define for others what they think is having a life. I love flight tracking, listening to the scanner and online research, but many will tell me I have no life. Well, that's their definition of having a life. It's no different than you liking Law and Order and someone else liking Housewives of Beverly Hills. Don't ever let anyone tell you what you should be doing to have a life. Do what you love and you'll always have a life. Story 13. Honestly, this is a very subjective question. What does someone have to do or not do for you to consider that they have no life? You could say that being unemployed means they have no life, but unemployed people could be criminals or actively searching for a job. Does that mean they have no life? Probably not. You could say that users have no life, but they could say they do it for fun. Either way, it's a part of their life. You could say someone staying home most of the time means they have no life, but they could be a stay at home parent or an introvert or someone who works from home. You could say someone who doesn't have friends doesn't have a life, but they could be a newcomer or someone who just dropped bad friends. It's all a matter of perspective, really, unless you go for the literal sense. Story 14. They make drama just for drama, and I mean make it. It's one thing to enjoy listening to good gossip or engaging in harmless talk, but it's when they create it that you can tell they have no life. Perfect example. At work, this girl, literally, no school, this is her first job, doesn't go out, sits at home on TikTok and smokes. She went around asking everyone their pay rates and their check amounts, then shared all the info with everyone else trying to cause arguments. Funny enough, though, all it did was make all the problem people quit, leaving us with the good ones. And then she admitted it all via text to a manager. It was only like her third week. No life, nothing to do, just cause drama for the sake of cause and drama. Story 15. I've noticed these things over the years for adults. A low standard of living combined with a low level of ambition. The older the adult, the more likely they don't have a life. An example could be someone living with their parents with no plans to leave within the next few years despite being 30 years old, or someone living in a bad apartment and not cleaning it at all. Their free time is filled with time-wasting activities. Intent and how often you do it is the key here. If you play video games as a fun hobby and you like doing it, it's not a no life. If you do it to waste time, but every once in a while, you're fine. Doing it every single day where the intent is to waste time is a sign of no life. Criticizing others to make themselves feel better, chronically online. They lack attending to responsibilities or don't prioritize the few responsibilities they have well. From what I have seen, these people tend to lack critical thinking skills. Also, watching sports and now the unfortunate normalization of sports betting that goes in tandem with watching a game, being the sole hobby outside of work that defines who you are as a person and what you do with the entirety of your free time. It's one thing to bet on a game once in a while, have a favorite team you like to watch play, and have other interests in life. For example, fishing, playing an actual sport, reading, a recreational activity, playing some video games to mix it up, carpentry, home improvement projects. But to have zero interest other than watching sports and betting on the games you're watching is more pathetic than a lot of other solitary activities that are unfairly characterized as being antisocial or signs of not having an active life. Story 16. I was once accused of not having a life because I often comment on stuff on social media, particularly Facebook. I had a period of my life where I didn't feel very good about myself and I could feel how it influenced my work. So I involved my department leader just to keep her in the loop. So if I didn't perform as expected, she had a sense why. My department leader was adamant that I spent too much time by myself, just being present on social media, and I should try to get a real life. The problem with that view, though, is that even though you can see me comment on stuff practically every day, I don't spend much time on social media. It's spread out throughout the day, but only in very small portions, only for maybe max 5 to 10 minutes at the time. And then in the evening, if I'm at home on my own, I will be on social media for longer. I always live the major part of my life outside social media, and I never bring my real life into social media. With a few exceptions and things I like to debate, etc., you literally can't tell much about me from my social media activity. I never post pictures from my life, of my children, etc. My kids are 15 and 17, and I think I posted pictures of them maybe 4 or 5 times in their lives. The same with things that I do. If I visit someone, I'm not on social media during the visit, and I don't write about it on social media. Yesterday, I posted something here on Reddit that happened during the day. That was the first time in years I did that. My point being, even if someone seems to you to be very active on social media, it doesn't represent the total amount of activity going on in their lives. It's just a small portion, but it's the only portion you can see. And if you're enjoying the video so far and all that you've seen, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 17. Going to a political rally, disagreeing with someone on social media, and then responding like an hour later saying, "What, no response?" Or similar, responding to a comment that disagrees with them and calling out the commenter like, "Dude, this thread is like 5 days old." Like obviously broadcasting the fact that their entire life revolves around staring at their phone all waking hours. And just that, in general, people who stare at their phone with every free waking minute. I find it actually rancid, like seeing a bowl of centipedes squirming around or something. Also, when they're more busy with the lives of other people than with their own life. I had a neighbor who had no life. She was watching me when I was sitting in my school classroom, watching others people with field glasses. She got a special walkie talkie so she could listen to others using such things. I have no clue how it's called correctly. And she was knitting clothes all day or being busy with window color or sunbathing during summertime. The lady was only in her 40s and didn't want to work anymore because she felt like she had done enough. Story 18. They get super defensive about getting blocked on social media by complete strangers who they've only met through online interactions that last no more than 10 minutes at best, if even that. The types will rant about how you can't block everyone you don't disagree with online because you'll have to deal with them in life, yada, 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 without actually understanding the social context for that statement to actually work, or indeed why that mindset persists in the first place, and why it does not apply to something as inconsequential as, I don't know, a personal Twitter or Reddit account. Nobody with an actual social life outside social media would ever take that kind of block so hard. It'd be a mild annoyance, at worst, to a healthy, normal person. Yeah, right? Maybe they should try joining a real-life support group for people who get blocked too much. They could call it like the Blocked and Confused Club. Story 19. Cringing at everything. See someone wearing an outfit? Oh wow, look over there. Oof, you couldn't catch me wearing something like that. Here's about someone watching cartoons for fun. OMG, people need to grow up. Cartoons are for children and idiots. See someone take medication. Well, I just don't trust those things, but it's your body, I guess. I drink something else and roll in peat bogs. It's more natural. Honestly, just get off cringing at picking on people's interests is like you're tattling on yourself. All I hear is, wow, I don't have any interest and I'm shallow, and wow, why aren't they being sad and awful like me? Also, if you do this, please, please, please stop. I know it's easy to get taken down the pipe of cheap jokes, but it really can break down your relationships. People will stop talking to you about the things they enjoy, they'll stop trusting you with important information. They will start doing what you are doing. It could be directed at you specifically. They will exclude you from anything of actual value and will safeguard common knowledge because they already know the storm you bring. Story 20. My roomie, who doesn't spend time with friends or us and spends his nights outside on his phone, drinking, smoking, and sitting by the fire for up to 6 to 8 hours at a time, complaining about life and love and wanting things to change. He got his ballot in the mail and complained that he never registered to vote. Then, after not voting in person and complaining about life for the past 3 years and the previous years, wouldn't vote because I don't know enough about the candidates or know what's happening in this election. You're willfully ignorant or just plain, and I just lost more respect for you. It's his right to feel so, but damn. Story 21. Their life revolves around work, and I don't necessarily mean a workaholic or someone who's ambitious. I mean someone who is always available to come in and doesn't really leave the house except for work. I work with someone like this, retail, and they don't ever take their holidays unless they're forced to because they're bored at home. And even on their days off, they are always answering work group chat messages that they don't need to answer, someone else could or would, and often end up just popping in and chatting with us. Don't get me wrong, they're lovely, but I always just find it sad that beside work, they don't really have anything. No hobbies, no social life, and this is coming from an introvert. No plans to do anything besides waiting for the next workday. Story 22. I just want to point out, with all the comments about people showing up to work on their days off or going to bars alone, not having IRL friends, a lot of these people didn't choose that life for themselves, and if they could, they would absolutely go back and change their life. I don't really know how to explain it, but so many people fall behind and things get in the way in life, and before they know it, years pass and they're stuck in a rut. I agree, it's sad to watch, but let's have some compassion for them. All we know is the cover of the book, not the story. Like, I know a lot of you aren't judging but just wanted to say my thoughts. Also, some people's success for them personally is living a content life. Maybe those regulars at the bar enjoy conversation and grew up in that town so it has special memories. Maybe some people like chatting online because they have social anxiety and it gives them a safe space to anonymously share their feelings. Just some thoughts. Story 23. Being disabled and cut off from funding. I have no life, no family or friends supporting me except my partner, his mom, and my 9-year-old daughter. I have no best friends, no casual mates, and my only acquaintances are my medical team and psychiatrist. Government support barely covers rent and bills. We go hungry a lot. And now I have next to no ability to get around without help, without physically paying for it over the following 4 days, ending up bedbound. And have very few interests now because I'm alone a good chunk of the time and too exhausted to do much of anything. And interests mean needing things and I can't afford them. Welcome to my lack of a life. Pray you never end up here. Story 24. They spend all their time complaining about their problems and playing victim. There comes a point where you have to stop self-pitying and limiting yourself, expecting everyone to feel bad for you, and to get some kind of special treatment because of bad experiences and situations you have gone through and just get on with it. A lot of people end up in that cycle and nobody's going to change that or save you apart from, well, yourself. Nobody really owes us anything, so you got to be the one to sort it out. Not saying support and family, etc. isn't necessary. I'm just saying people can only do so much to help you. Bad things happen to all of us. Don't make it your personality and an excuse to be a terrible person and feel you are owed or something. I feel I couldn't get my point across, so it became really long-winded, lol. When you're facing mental health issues, difficulties, or anything at all, bad parents, etc., don't make it your personality and have no life because of it. You're the one stealing your own future. Don't live through what other people have done to you. Story 25. I guess to summarize what everyone is saying, to avoid topics, yourself, your emotion by hyper-focusing on a different subject, work, games, whatever really, it could be sports too. Personally, that just sounds like stereotypical depression behavior though. I would personally rather argue a sign would be if someone has nothing he wants to share, is proud of, about, or no dreams. Could be anything really, and communication does not have to be the focus. You can have a life while living isolated with your interests, in my opinion. But if someone has no stories to tell, no weird facts he knows, does not have topics where he can have a long talk about, does not have a dream, does not have an aim, no matter how small, etc., then, what's their life? There is no personality or character if you can neither look forward nor backward and say, yeah, that sounds great. And it would make interacting with such a person quite challenging. Story 26. Terminally online, spending their time online trying to convince people they have lived experience, but you can smell the stink of miles away that they don't know by how everything sounds like a tall tale almost. The time to sit around and pester or argue with people online for days, weeks, months, even years. Social media is way too important to them. They don't see it as a supplement to real-life socialization. Social media is their life. Acting like dumb that happen on these social networks are the end of the world. Also, living vicariously through others, especially weird for the folks who have no struggle and adopts others' struggles for brownie points. Never talk about their own lives, but what others go through to try and make a point. No thanks. Let me hear from the people who are really going through it. It's like that person who would tell you, don't waste your food, there's kids starving in insert third world country, but dial up to 10, they live it. Celebrity obsession? I don't even like my favorite rapper that much to sit online and gatekeeper and act like I really know them. Fan bases, stan culture is full of this. Like if a celebrity is known by a stage name by most people, these types will let you know they know said celebrity's real name to show you they're more of a fan and obsessed than you. This is morbid, but I'm surprised in this day and age you don't see more of that weird Mark David Chapman style behavior. R.I.P. John Lennon. I feel bad for these people sometimes now. Story 27. Having a life means a life full of things that give joy, be it people, activities, or things. Someone with no life usually lacks a social life, hobbies, or interests. Someone with a life is usually seen to be regularly doing things, going places, seeing people, whether it's collecting coins or going out socializing. They have something to talk about outside of work and what's on Netflix. If every time you ask someone how their weekend is or what's on for the month and it's always not much, just at home, that's a sign someone does not have a fulfilling life. Look for hobbies and passions, what their time is spent on. You can stay at home but be passionate about yoga, reading, crafts, cooking. It's not exclusive to getting out of the house, but just doing something in general. Story 28. Even if they do something interesting, it's usually the only thing they do and it makes you so uninterested you never want to be involved with them. We had a friend who only cared about concerts. Music festivals, shows of all sizes, it's all he did. He lived with his parents, couldn't hold a job, and just went on their dime. He won contests, got cool memorabilia, autographs all over the house, and all he talked about was shows he'd seen and shows he was going to see. He'd invite people to go because he didn't have rides, but we'd always refuse because the idea of going with him and listening to him talk about the same thing the whole time was exhausting. I love concerts and I go to lots as well, but when you only do one thing, there's only so much I can tolerate being around you. Also, they dedicate their entire personality to telling you about either their significant other or their offspring. Workers and bosses who ask everyone else to run faster because one colleague can't say no, and thus works on the weekend as well. Just remember when you say no to more responsibility that John worked during the weekend to make X work. People who are proud to tell you how hammered they were at a party. People who excitedly tell you that they don't read or listen to music without having a reason. People who get mad when I cannot discuss the latest season of whatever reality show is popular and try to force me to watch it. Story 29. The people who habitually comment didn't happen or then everyone clapped when people share stories. I get what people are saying about a life having many meanings, but this is a character issue, a worldview issue that speaks really poorly of the people who do it. Like, I'm sorry you have never had anything really weird or funny or nice or interesting happen to you. I'm sorry you think kids aren't smart enough to say some pretty neat stuff. I'm sorry your worldview is so small that unlikely means impossible to you. I'm sorry you feel so inadequate. I'm sorry you're frustrated or angry about other stuff that you can't walk away from a chance to hurt at someone. I'm sorry that you don't have enough fun. I'm sorry you haven't found more rewarding ways to feel clever. You deserve better from yourself. I don't even know why they feel the need to correct people about their experiences. Is it an effort to look especially perceptive or to appear cool and aloof? I genuinely don't get it. It's exhausting. Nobody's into that except other exhausting people. Hush. Also, people who have no life, me writing this long comment, forgive me. Physical therapy beat me today and I'm laid up and bored as hell. Also, just had someone do this to me the other day over the blandest story. Story 30. People that always seem to work overtime. I had a coworker that would always be the first in our department office, would always be the last to leave most of the time, working 10 hours a day. Even though she had no chances of getting a higher position and the usual shifts were 8 hours and overtime wasn't paid out, and she never used her overtime to end work early. I worked in the IT department and she always thought her problems were a high priority, telling us how important her work is, even though she was just a usual office clerk like the other 30% of our employees. I don't know how people can live like that and waste all their lifetime on a meaningless job that has no big positive impact on anything. Also, when people try to engage you, online or offline, you don't really have anything to talk about. Everything is work. Even if you don't work when you're off, your work defines your life. You might be a solid musician or something, but work comes up. Not past relationships, not stories to avoid oversharing trauma, just work. Online, they might delete a lot of comments and posts on sites like Reddit, maybe even regularly create and delete accounts to fill the void of not having a life. When people aren't trolling, being busy and having no life probably look a lot alike. Story 31. As someone with no life, here's what I do. I work Thursday to Sunday, 6:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. as after-hour security for my school district. I don't socialize except for whoever is working the shift that starts before on Thursday and Friday, plus some of the custodians who work until 10 p.m. or midnight if it's a high school, because on Saturday and Sunday, I'm completely by myself and might get a call or two from the alarm company. Also, police love to find me if they notice my truck at the abandoned school or our district HQ because they're just as bored as me and want to chit-chat. I'm male, 22, and still at home even though I make roughly $5,000 a month because helping around the house here and paying $400 a month is nicer than $2,000 apartment, allowing me to build up a savings account. When I get off work, I pick up coffee for my parents. My retired dad and I watch TV or YouTube videos together for a while until I go to sleep around 8 a.m. Usually my mom will wake me up at 3:30 p.m. since that's when she gets home from work Monday to Friday. I get ready for work, have dinner with them, and then dip out. On my days off, I still stay up all night playing games or watching movies, depending on if my unemployed friend is online, which he usually goes to sleep at 1 to 2 a.m. A major problem with my current work schedule is that it's impossible to date. I've sort of just accepted loneliness and being single. Also, I have no friends to hang out with since my good buddy is an online friend I've known for almost 10 years, but we've never met since we're on opposite coasts. I save a decent amount every month but not going out, but I also buy myself nice things. Like, I got a really nice office chair for myself last Christmas, the Herman Miller Embody. Last month, I bought myself a new watch, the Tudor Pelagos LHD. I think really my only socializing outside of work is chatting with the barista on my way to work and when I pick up my parents' coffee after work. Also, when I go to physical therapy because I tore something in my right shoulder back in June at work and spent 4 months at home. Actually, last weekend was my first week back. My biggest socializing events are when one of my parents and I go to a college football game since we have season tickets at the university my dad went to. My boss is nice enough to let me give her the schedule the day it gets announced, so she put me down to take a day without pay for the 7 games we were attending between August and November. That way, I can use my actual vacation and sick days for when I need or want to use them. I don't mind missing out on the 7 days of pay, around $2,000. So while it seems like I do a lot, I realistically talk to, at most, 10 different people a week. Most people don't know me, but people appreciate what I do. Right now, I'm sitting in my office chair, listening to music. I'm just letting time pass by because I'd say I have no life. Story 32. Someone who has not changed or progressed their life since high school. I have a friend who has worked in and lived in the same exact place he always has been since high school. He's living with his parents, no dating life whatsoever, never even tried, I don't think, because the rest of us tried to introduce him to partners. Doesn't travel, doesn't even make time to hang out with us to catch up. His excuses range from, I'm working on something at the house, to my shoulder hurts, to, at one point, I'm on medical leave and I'm not supposed to be seen outside of the house. He's never been on social media and he has no plans on moving out. The rest of us just started coming up with crazy theories about him at this point. He's either a serial criminal with depression or undiagnosed mental health disorder. Story 33. Always being available for any and all events. It's me. I have no life. Need me Thursday to help you move? Sure, I got nothing planned. Is my next Saturday free to help out in the soup kitchen? My Saturdays are always free. I'll be there. You have a concert you want to go to next month? I don't even need to write it down. I'll be looking forward to that day like it's my release date after 10 years in jail. It's sort of freeing, in a sense. By being free all the time, it means I can go do a lot of the things all the time. And yet, I haven't managed to book a whole week yet in the last year or so. Story 34. When all they ever want to talk about is their job, and anything they're ever proud of was related to their job. Construction folks, especially, the older guys, are like this. We haven't met for some time, we're just catching up. I'm not interested in whatever mega project you're involved in or was involved in. Tell me about your hobbies or something, man. I could give little shit about your construction job. If you weren't hired for that position, other people would have been hired to do the same job. It's not special or anything. Also, neighbors that call the police for cars parked in front of their house. How do you have that much time to clock public parking all day and know which house they went to? LOL. I have a neighbor that needs a life. She doesn't work or do anything all day but sits at home. Yesterday morning, my neighbor shouted at me in the street about where we place our bins on bin collection day. In my opinion, thinking that much about bins and their location is pretty sad and pathetic and means you have screw everything else going on in your life. But to get upset and angry that you think it's okay to shout at your neighbor in the street like a fish wife is a whole other level of pathetic and means you can't have anything else going on in your life. Story 35. I went through a couple of roommates in the past, and almost all of them did absolutely nothing outside of school or their job. Single men in their 20s, no ambition whatsoever to make friends, find a partner, no hobbies to speak of. I would always go out any chance I got and would see them smoking on the porch, and they'd be in the same spot when I got back. Such sad sacks, I couldn't even feel bad for them. They'd rather waste away in their room listening to Joe Rogan than go out and try to meet a girl or make a friend. And if any of these stories got to you, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.